Now, if you don't know who Charlie Kirk is, he was a giant in the spirit, a man of righteousness, a man who stood for Jesus Christ boldly when it cost him everything. And he was martyred on the 10th of September 2025. And it was the event that shocked the world, right? It was a gunshot that was heard across the nation, pretty much. We have access to it on social media. And so it was a pretty tragic event. And so what it looked like, at the moment, it might appear as though the enemy is victorious, but he is not. God will always use what the enemy meant for evil for our good and for his glory. And so I do believe God is avenger, and I do believe the righteous blood of Charlie Kirk will be avenged, and God will take justice, and justice will be served. And so right now we have entered this new dispensation, right? And so to before I get into what that means and what that looks like, I want to specifically just explain where it talks about this in scriptures, right? In Ephesians 1:10, it talks about the existence of dispensation. So in Ephesians 1:10, reading from the New King James Version, it says that in the dispensation of the fullness of the times, he might gather together in one all things in Christ, both which are in heaven and which are on earth in him. So this reveals the existence of dispensation, of the fullness of times, which means each in time God marks it with boundary lines to separate out various time periods or eras of times, right? And so that is essentially what a dispensation is. And so to talk about why the beginning of a new dispensation needs, or essentially when it's marked by an event, I want to talk about it from John 5:35 to 36, right? And this is what Jesus is talking about. And reading from verse 35, Jesus says, John, speaking about John the Baptist, John was a lamp that burned and gave light, and you chose for a time to enjoy his light. Verse 36, and then Jesus says, I have testimony weightier than that of John. For the works that the Father has given me to finish, the very works that I am doing, testify that the Father has sent me. And so the fact that Herodias was successful in beheading John was not that the enemy was successful. It might have appeared that way. No, it was purely because John's season of influence was coming to an end, and resurrection work had to be completed. It was not up to John to complete resurrection. Only Jesus could fulfill that. And so now it was time for Jesus. And so similarly, Charlie Kirk was a mogul. He was a giant in the spirit who had so much influence and power. And now he is enjoying, his time has ended, and he is enjoying life with Jesus Christ in heaven and in glory. And so now there are people that God will raise up and that are rising up to carry Charlie Kirk's mantle, a mantle of righteousness, a mantle of purity, a mantle of integrity, and a mantle of evangelism, right? There are so many people who will rise up to carry this mantle in this next dispensation.